Excellent. All right, let's get into it. So item 14. Leah, do you want to run through that just so everyone's clear too? We won't be breaking until we're finished. The ones that I'm chairing, so that should speed it up. Okay, Leah, do you want to go into it, and then if we've got questions, we'll go to there. Noting everyone's obviously had a briefing on it and will have read the papers, I'm sure.
Correct. So thank you, Councillor McDonald. So today we are presenting for approval the draft letter of expectations for CCHL. This draft, as Councillor McDonald has indicated, has been discussed in workshop with councillors and the board of CCHL. So I'm not going to go through the detail. However, I do want to touch on a couple of things. The main one being the request for the strategic review. The word review can sometimes create unintended concerns when not put into the correct context. So I would like to give that context today for our community. CCHL has been an extremely successful model for the city. The foresight in 1993 to create the holdings model with a purpose to create a confidential, independent, non-political buffer between the council and its commercial companies and invest in and promote the establishment of key infrastructure for the day, has achieved a growth in the asset value of CCHL from some 400 million to 3.2 billion today. It has also seen the returns of over 1.8 billion of capital and dividend payments to the city. It has also been a model that the city has used to drive change and leadership in non-commercial matters, things like sustainability. A good example of that is the recently successful delivery of the CCHL sustainability bond last month. CCHL has supported the city over the last 10 years in a partnership. The city has relied on its help to reduce our increasing debt program and maintain rates increases at a lower level than would have been required as we rebuilt our city. So, why do we need a review? Because it is our role to keep challenging ourselves that we are fit for purpose for the next 30 years. So that someone sitting here, and it won't be me in 30 years' time, or probably any of the people in the room, that they can look back and say the same things I've just said today, that this is a real successful model. Given the amount of change that is happening in the local authority space with the government reforms and our climate change challenges, the global pandemic, and anything else that may occur in the next 10 years, and we're all very clear that there will be something, we need to reflect that we are fit for the future. We have asked CCHL to lead this review and work with the council on it. And we have asked CCHL to report back to council in April next year so it can enable the final statement of intent. The review will focus on the review and purpose and key objectives of CCHL to consider whether they are still achieving for our residents both today and future generations. Assessing the governance structure, including the optimal size mix of elected and independent members and key competencies. Clarifying the potential benefits and risks of CCHL investing in opportunities outside its current core purpose to create civic wealth, and how the company shareholder relationship could be improved to ensure key stakeholders, including the public and elected members, are well informed about CCHL's role and purpose, an alignment of our strategic objectives with those of the council and the risks and benefits that are inherent in that relationship, clarity of roles and responsibilities, including those of the CCHL subsidiary staff and boards, CCHL staff and boards and council staff and elected members, and best practice governance advice to inform the council's review of its policy on the appointment and remuneration of directors, which is due for approval and review prior to the body elections. But I want to be clear, this review will not include any consideration for the structure of the holding company. We are very clear that this is a successful model and it is not intended for any reason to change. We want to ensure the continued confidential, independent, non-political buffer between the council and its commercial objectives. And on that note, I'll hand it back to questions.
Perfect, thanks, Leah. And I guess it is worth just reinforcing that it is that continuous improvement, isn't it?
Correct.
So there's a heap that works really well, but it's always good to have a lens over it just to see if there's anything that can change. So,
Correct.
I'm assuming because we've had workshops, there aren't too many questions. Yanni? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just wanted to acknowledge that this letter does pick up on the group suppliers around the living wage, so I didn't think there was any resistance to just adding that into the previous letter, given that it's basically what we've already kind of agreed. But in terms of relationships, I just wanted to check on that, which is really good to see. Is it? I'm just mindful that a number of our companies, like if you look at Enable, are doing more in the sort of community wellbeing space. Is it worth just adding, maybe around just rather than just delivering on the economic wellbeing aspirations, that we could put in about the community wellbeing or social, environmental. So, like, if we could just do the 4 wellbeings in there, just to kind of reflect what the companies are doing. I don't know how others feel about it, but
One's got. Do you want to just mention it?
I think, Yanni, you've just described, actually, rather than thinking of 1 or 2, it is the 4 well-beings.
yeah,
And just that roundedness would be supportive, and the companies are doing
yeah,
And
a lot.
acknowledgement.
So let's actually celebrate that.
Yep. Agreed.
yeah. And then I think that would hopefully give scope around that local stuff like venues Aotearoa, that sort of approach. So, yeah. But anyway, thank you for the detailed letter. It's good to see a lot more detail on this.
Cool. Thanks, Yanni. Jimmy, you had a question?
Yeah, whether this review is for CCHL, they themselves review, or have any independent expert to help them to review?
I think they will be getting some independent help, given that's pretty much the team you're looking at. So I don't know, they probably won't be able to do it all themselves, so they will be looking at getting independent people to help.
Okay, second question is regarding the assessment governance structure. I'm not sure, I cannot see clearly regarding optimal size, mix of elected or independent member. But I remember we always, based on our expectation, mentioned we prefer it's a diverse, those board directors can be the more functioning, bring to the table. I didn't see the diverse
I think
in here.
that's a really good point. And you might recall when we had the workshop on it, we talked about the fact that Paul and the team are going to work with Leah and the team to make sure we get that balance right. So you're 100% right.
But not here.
No, but it's we have talked about it, so it's all sorted. So you don't need to worry about that one.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Cool. Mike. Yeah.
Thank you. Just looking at the climate change comments in here, where it talks about the group reviewing activities, etc. Will that include looking at the Scope 3 emissions?
The working group.
In terms of the climate change, looking at its greenhouse gas emissions footprints, etc. Will they be looking at what the Scope 3?
All the individual entities do that. They look
Yep.
at all scope 1, 2, and 3. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So do I have a mover for this? Tim's happy to. Aaron will second it. Is there any discussion? Yep. Tim.
Yeah, thank you. And it's just really to commend Enable with regards to their social and backing of that, which is really, really good. However, just do remember that they are also treating the top of Hunt Spree, Richmond Hill, etc. as isolated communities. So they still have not connected those and are arguing or discussing that. So there are some gaps in this process, which I'm not happy about, but overall I do support it.
Great. Thank you. So we'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Excellent. Now, do you want to move on to item 15?